Everyone, and welcome back to another edition of the PGA First Look video. Before we get to this week's event, we got to talk about Tom Kim. Incredible story. Born in 2002, so he's only 20 years old. Became one of the youngest winners ever on the PGA Tour. And similar to Will Zalatoris last year, he had accrued enough FedEx Cup points to to secure his PGA Tour card for next year. However, he wasn't included in the standings because he wasn't a full-time member. So he wouldn't have been able to play in the playoffs unless he won last week, and that's exactly what he did. He started with a quadruple bogey. He had an 8 on his first hole, then went out and just dominated the rest of the 71 holes that he had to play. Ended up winning by 4 or 5 strokes, gained over 12 strokes on the green. Incredible story, Ju-Young Kim. I'm excited to see him in the field. I think he's all the way up to 35th in the FedEx Cup standings, something like that. So with a good couple finishes the next 2 weeks, we could see him at East Lake. So big congrats to him. Now let's turn our attention to the FedEx St. Jude Championship. So this used to be an invitational. Used to be a WGC event the last 3 years, which means there wasn't a cut. So when you're looking at course history, make sure to take that into account. There were between 65 and 75 golfers in the field the last 3 years. Prior to that, it was a full field event with a cut. So we got a lot of course history to work with. Just keep in mind when you're looking at course history in the first look table or in this model here. These 3 years there was only 65 golfers in the field, so something like a 59th place finish, not very good when it comes to you're only beating 10 golfers or whatever it may be. Prior to that, there was a cut, so you're going to see, some missed cuts in the game logs as well. As far as the course goes, TPC Southwind, it's a par 70 that measures 7,243 yards. Very long course. I believe it is the second longest par 70 on the PGA Tour. Should be much tougher than we've seen the last couple of weeks. The fairways here, pretty narrow, 29 yards wide on average. The rough here is pretty thick. 2.5 inches, and it is Bermuda rough. The fairways here are zoysia grass, so they do give you some, perched up lies, which a lot of golfers like. A lot of golfers, aren't used to it. I would say it's more of a acquired taste than anything else. But the the penalty for missing the fairways is pretty steep in terms of your expected score on the hole. Sometimes you're just not going to have a shot into the greens. You're certainly not going to have, a shot at making birdie if you're going to be playing from the rough all day. Justin Thomas said it best. It's a lot like East Lake in that if you hit the fairways, it's not an overly difficult golf course. But if you do miss the fairways, then, it certainly has some teeth. Water's in play on 11 of the 18 holes. Only 5 of the holes of the 18 have played under par here over the years, while 3 of the holes had a double or worse bogey rate above 5%. So you're going to see a lot of big numbers on the scorecard. You're going to see a lot of birdies, but I expect the winning score to be somewhere in the mid-teens. Depending on the weather, if it gets really windy, maybe we'll see lower teens. If it gets, some really good weather, maybe we'll see it in the high teens. But, I think to win, you're going to have to hit the fairways. You're going to have to avoid the water hazards, elite approach play, good scrambling, and then good Bermuda putting. Now, I will say, this is one of the few events on the PGA Tour where you can get the job done tee to green and not have to make a ton of putts in order to contend. We've seen, I believe, 2 winners here. Won the event while losing strokes putting. We've seen also a second place finish as well. So you can definitely contend if you are a bad putter. So something to keep in mind when you are building your lineups this week. Unlike the last 2 weeks where everyone's been hitting the greens and it turns into a putting contest, that's not the case this week. So the greens here are very small, around 4,300 square feet on average. And they're going to be fairly difficult to hit. So if you do hit the greens, you're probably going to be, pretty good look at birdie. And if not, you're going to be scrambling. So you want to be good with your irons. You want to be a good scrambler. In terms of the comps that I'm looking at all Bermuda courses. I'm looking at average and difficult par 70s. And then the 2 courses that I picked out as comps are going to be East Lake, what Justin Thomas said about it. And then Pebble Beach with the extremely small greens. They have the smallest greens on the PGA Tour. So I kind of picked those 2 out as the comps for the week. Looking at total driving, looking at strokes gained off the tee, looking at good drive percentage. Huge weights to strokes gained approach this week. Big weight to green regulation as well. And then I got some Bermuda putting splits in here. I got the 3 comps that I mentioned. I got the whole yardage breakdown that shows the exact hole yardage lengths and how golfers do on those specific holes. We got the form, we got the field strength index, we got all the goods that you could ever need. I'll also have The tee times in here, the ownership projections in here later in the week once those are out. FanDuel doesn't have their salaries out at the time I was recording this, so those are blank right now. But yeah, we'd love to have you as an RG Premium member. A lot of fun going on, a lot of people winning some money thanks to the content and thanks to the Discord. So we'd love to have you join us. Again, you get access to this model. You get to download it into your own Excel, play with all the different weights, kind of make it your own, and then you can upload those directly into our lineup builder, which I think is the best in the industry. So thank you for watching this video. Best of luck in your contest, and we'll see you back here next week.